We're pleased to bring in right now a member of the House Ways and Means Committee, Illinois Congressman Darren LaHood here. Good to see you, Congressman LaHood. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Good to be with you, Bianca.
All right, the chair, Jason Smith, was going to sit down with President Trump today at the White House. So where are we at? Because there's all this talk that, the permanent extension of the 2017 Trump-era tax cuts may be derailed. Is that an accurate assessment tonight?
I don't think so. I think we've reached agreement on roughly 90 to 95% of what President Trump wants to do and what we want to do as Republicans. We've been waiting for this to have the House and the Senate and the presidency. And Bianca, if you go back and look at the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that President Trump did in his first term, it created the best economy in my lifetime. And if we do nothing this year, we'll have $4.5 trillion of tax increases at the end of this year. And so it's imperative, it's fundamental that we get this done. I feel optimistic we will. We're going to have to work through the issues that you mentioned, the SALT issue, Medicaid cuts and other cuts, and also on whether you raise the top rate. But the one big, beautiful bill, I believe, will come together, and I think we'll get it passed.
Time is running short, though. You know that. There's been some ambitious timelines put out for you to be ready by Memorial Day, get it over to the Senate. Let's talk about SALT, because the New York contingent is saying this 30% cap is just not something that they can live with. So how do you work around that? How do you manage that?
Well, I think we'll have to have President Trump weigh in on this, but I think there's many fiscal conservatives in the House, and I include myself in there, that we can't be bailing out high tax states like New York, California, Connecticut, New Jersey, even Illinois, my home state, by putting this deduction at a high level. It costs a lot of taxpayer money. And I think it would be a much different conversation if we were $36 trillion in surplus, but we're not. We're $36 trillion in debt. The point and the goal of this bill is to to create an atmosphere that brings rocket fuel to the economy and the free market system. And again, the high cost of what SALT entails, I think, is a tough sell with many fiscally minded Republicans.
What about the Truth Social that we just put out there? President Trump saying, taxing higher earners, he would be okay with that. What's your stance?
Well, I think if you, again, go back and look at President Trump's 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, it was all about cutting taxes, not raising taxes on individuals. That's kind of what we've been focused on. And remember, we want predictability and certainty for the economy. There's been a lot of anxiousness and uncertainty through the first part of the year here. This bill will bring predictability and certainty. I personally believe we should just focus on tax cuts and not tax increases, but that'll be a debate that we'll have to have, and we'll obviously listen to the administration closely on that.
Yeah, obviously, I mean, this administration works very closely and with, all of you, and especially, like I said, Jason Smith, the chair, was meeting with President Trump today. Johnson's $4 trillion tax plan, and just saying it may not be able to deliver on all of President Trump's requests. So you're saying you still feel confident that this will get done, and we know it's one big, beautiful bill officially now, at least according to the House.
Yes, I feel confident with that. Remember, President Trump got elected in part because of the economic issues that he talked about. And so we have an obligation and responsibility to fulfill those promises, to bring tax cuts to working families across this country, to give rocket fuel to the free market system and our economy. Again, I think we're there on 90 to 95% of this bill. We'll have a few things to work through, but I'm confident with Speaker Johnson, our Chairman Jason Smith, the members of the Ways and Means Committee, we're going to get there.
All right. We'll be following it very closely. A lot of work ahead, even if it is just 5% there to get there. Congressman Darren LaHood, a pleasure to have you, sir. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.